Well, hello everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started here. We're just going to do a short presentation, about 15 minutes, about learning on the go. So we hope you'll join us. And hello to everyone online. We're glad you're here as well. My name is Jennifer Peterson, and oh dear. Let's see, there we go. I am a part of a community, we're a project of OCLC research, where we are committed to providing learning opportunities and resources for library staff and volunteers all over the place. It doesn't matter where you're from, what size your library is, what type of library your library is. We are a community of learning, and we're so excited to talk a little bit about some of what we do at WebJunction, but I'm going to focus on talking about it within the context of learning on the go. WebJunction launched in 2003, and since then we've reached over 80,000 library staff around the world, and we continue to engage with those folks and bring learning from their experiences. We're very committed to bringing the practice that's happening on the ground in libraries to the rest of the libraries to learn from. Oh, wrong way. So before I get started, I want to talk a little bit about what the modern learner looks like. Obviously, within the context of learning on the go. Elucidat did some research on the modern learner, and they found 9 different facets of the modern learner. Modern learners are overwhelmed and distracted, but we are keen to learn and committed to professional development. We want personalized, timely, quality content. We learn anywhere, as we see here. We're learning 56% at the point of need. Many of us are learning off the clock in the evenings on the weekends. We know a lot of library staff are learning at their desks. I can attest to this when we do our webinars. We often hear from folks that say, oh, I'm at the public desk, I got to step away. So we know that that's happening in libraries. Folks are learning on their breaks, and some are even learning on their way to and from work. The other thing we learned from this study is that only 1% of the time we have at work can be spent on learning. So obviously we have to really squeeze it in. So obviously a lot of that learning that we do is informal. It's maybe not in a formal setting or in a formal time frame, but I want to reinforce that learning on the go doesn't diminish the value of learning. This learning can be applied right away. It can be as impactful as formal learning. It flex to what motivates us. We know that being motivated around that learning is key to the success. Embrace those small moments. They could be as valuable as some of those bigger moments, bite-sized learning. And obviously it can be applied right away. We hear from lots of folks that learn at WebJunction that they want to take that learning and put it to work right away. And I'm going to talk about some of the ways in which you can do that. So really there's no wrong way to informally learn. And I think, again, this motivation piece, if you're not getting where you need to go, shake it up, come back to it later, and find that motivation later on. So there are 5 ways that I'm going to talk about today, learning on the go, to enhance that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how to self-direct your learning or support other people in your organization to self-direct their learning. Learning with others, how learner guides can help you apply that learning. How socializing your learning. We're hearing a lot about, at this conference I've heard more folks talking about how libraries create that social connection. I think the same thing happens in our learning. And how to grow a culture of learning. And I should mention that in the true WebJunction way, we have posted these slides. It's actually part of a bigger presentation that I've done in the past with a number of resources, links, a learner guide as well. So I'll encourage you to check that out. You can actually just search go on WebJunction and find it. So how about self-directing your learning? You know better than anyone else where those gaps are, and you need the support, of course, to find the time and to pursue that learning. So obviously, self-directed learning with support works best. And I'm going to start with an example This concept of self-directed learning was applied to the self-directed achievement model. About 10 years ago, a woman who works at a library in Tooele, Utah, came up to me and she said, you know, I'm thinking about this idea of bringing some staff development initiative to my library, and she had been doing lots of research outside the library sector, different sectors and how they approach staff development for their teams. And she said, I'm working on it. I'm not, and of course, when anyone comes up to me, I manage our webinar programs, and tells me about something that they're doing like that, I'm like, oh, you should talk about it in a webinar. And she said, well, not quite ready yet. So she came back a couple years later and she said, we did it, it's awesome, and we want to talk about it. So you can learn about it in a WebJunction webinar. But the basic premise is to provide staff with an hour a week so that they can focus on a goal, 1 hour every week. And she talked about how this really shifted their culture. She actually said, literally, it was within weeks that we started to see an internal culture shift. Now our whole organization is about improving ourselves, our library, and our community. So it even rippled out. The community even got a sense of what was happening. And also a part of every week is a short meeting with your supervisor or perhaps another colleague to check in and ask 3 questions. What did you learn this week? 2, if you didn't learn it, what prevented you from learning it? And then what's your learning goal for the next week? And this simple structure, they actually have some templates to track and monitor it, has made a huge impact. And there are a number of other libraries that we've heard from that have adapted this model. One in Charlotte, Mecklenburg calls it their learning happy hour. So make it even more fun. So obviously learning with others can impact that and take that even further. We know from folks over the time that we've been noticing people learning together that they tell us that they bring that learning not just to their fellow staff, but to their friends, to their volunteers, to even other stakeholders in the community. And bringing that learning together as a community really helps make it stick. They acquire common language. A lot of times in library land, there's something new coming out and people are like, we don't even know what this is. Doing that learning together can help build that common language. You know, after you've done a little bit learning, well then host and bring that discussion to find local relevance. I know there was a conference, a national online conference, and libraries in Kansas got together and they stepped aside from the online learning and they had local guest speakers to bring that learning to the meaning of their local community. Well, I think the action plan piece, taking action on your learning as a team, can be hugely powerful. Sharing, you know, maybe even applying it to some more deliberate learning goals or learning plans. And I have to give a little plug for those that need some certificates for their learning. WebJunction provides learning for all of our webinars and all of our self-paced courses. So you can use that as a part of any sort of credit process that you need. So WebJunction, I've actually put a few flyers out here, including one about the Supercharged Storytimes course. And this is a course that we knew would have more impact if learners were learning together. And somebody stepping forward to say, oh, I'll lead that learning can be kind of challenging. You know, they're not the expert, they're going to learn along with. So we created a facilitator guide for the Supercharged Storytime course that provides some of the tools and tips to convene and coordinate, to foster those connections, enrich those discussions, to cultivate a learning environment. And the guide is actually designed with the intention of being adapted to any topic. So it's not only about story times. So we encourage people to think about ways that they could find another topic, but apply these same facilitated learning principles. So we at WebJunction are very interested in how you can take your learning and apply it. So for all of our webinars, we create a learner guide. This one's a little more robust. It's actually a lot of the things that I'm talking about today. So you can go to that learner guide at the go. But what we are finding is having some structure around applying that learning allows people, either alone or together, to sort of think through and process. It's a great tool for discussion. Again, we're hearing from people that are using it with their boards, trustees, as well as other staff within the organization. And it's usually a combination of a few sort of steps to take, or just questions to consider, or links to other resources. So we provide this as a way, again, for you to apply that learning or support your staff to apply that learning to their work. Obviously, there's a theme here. So socializing your learning, we really believe, is key. You know, learning doesn't happen in a silo. Learning is not effective if you're not socializing it. One good example, so if you haven't been to a WebJunction webinar, we keep our chat open and available. We really see this as an opportunity for us to be efficient with your time, for you to leverage the expertise and ideas that are coming from other people who are in the webinar. And one example, we had a customer service webinar in quite a while ago, actually. And during that webinar, one woman from Halifax chimed in and said, earlier this year, our library did an online staff survey. I called it, "Today I Bent a Rule," or wanted to, in order to provide good customer service. So out of that staff survey then came some very clear objectives for how to improve their customer service experience. So of course people chimed in and chat, "Oh, I'd love to see a copy of your survey. Oh, I'd like to see it too." So of course I can chime in and say, "Oh, this is great. We'll get Sarah to share her survey with us and we can put it on WebJunction." And out of that came a follow-up article, "Today I Bent a Rule." And this still today remains one of the top pieces of content on the site. So this is the way, the WebJunction way, for us to bring what you're doing and share it with as many library staff as we can. Another social aspect, a couple times a month, I look through Facebook primarily, but social media at what libraries are doing in reaching out to their communities. And I collect examples. They can be a variety of topics. It could be serving teens. It could be working with partners in the community. There's a whole range. And I actually have created a spreadsheet with those topics identified so you could sort and look through the spreadsheet and get a little short. I mean, this is a perfect example of just some really quick inspiration. If you're stuck, or if you've got staff that are stuck, you're trying to inspire them, the social library is a great way to get that. So obviously, social media is often a way that we go get those quick inspiration. WebJunction is on social media. You can find us on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter. We also have a page, the Geek the Library Facebook page, which has a lot of followers. This isn't just library staff, this is the broader community, but it's another great way to get quick ideas. We know a lot of libraries are resharing some of that content. It's a quick, easy way to get inspiration. Obviously, we're all getting lots of information from library-related Facebook. These are all Facebook pages. I know they're represented elsewhere. But many of these are places where we see people doing that same kind of sharing. It's a very much of a social learning experience. I'll let you take a look at that, but I want to mention one of them up here, the Libraries in the Opioid Crisis, is a new Facebook page that we created with PLA. And this is our newest research grant project that we're doing with PLA. It's an IMLS-funded grant. And we're focusing on looking at how libraries are responding to the opioid crisis. Could be a variety of different strategies, whether it's staff getting trained on Narcan or community partnerships with different agencies. And we're really interested in looking at agencies outside the library community and understanding what's happening there. So that's research that will be going on. In the fall, we will share an action paper, action white paper to look at how other libraries can learn from these experiences. And of course, we'll be sharing that information on WebJunction webinars. So as you can tell, we are passionate about learning, and I don't know if you've explored the ideas around creating a culture of learning or learning organizations. There's a whole lot of information out there, but obviously libraries themselves are learning organizations. So we, in our work, are creating cultures of learning, but oftentimes we don't apply that internally as well. So, you know, learning is the business of libraries. It addresses this motivation piece. We can model learning, both, I mean, I think about it as a parent as well. You know, it's really a part of all of our lives. This idea of lifelong learners, we're all lifelong learners in libraries, so the support it can create. So as I said, there's tons more in WebJunction's work related to growing cultures of learning. So I talked a lot about WebJunction. Make sure you come to webjunction.org, and I'm just going to point out a few of the important areas here. This topic areas will dive you deeper into each of the resource areas. Our projects, the grant-funded projects we've currently or in the past have implemented. The webinar calendar will tell you upcoming webinars as well as past webinars. And then the course catalog. Our course catalog has over 300 webinar recordings and self-paced courses, and many of these have been created in collaboration with other partners, and I'm just going to highlight a few that are newer to the catalog. The Media Smart Libraries is the University of Rhode Island had created this curriculum for libraries and now is on WebJunction for free to all. I mentioned Supercharged Storytimes. The Foundation Center has a grant seeking for libraries course in the WebJunction catalog, and the Making Space for Active Learning in Your Library is a three-course series that helps libraries think about how they can transform their physical spaces to make that more inviting and engaging learning environment. So that's a lot of information. The best way to stay in touch with WebJunction is to subscribe to our newsletter. It comes twice a week to your inbox. You can subscribe on the homepage. It will collect all of the different resources that we're talking about, new learning opportunities. Lots and lots of information comes through that. So thank you so much. I'm really excited that you all are here, and say hello to everybody online, and we look forward to seeing you on WebJunction.